Hello and welcome to the Catch a Lift Coaches Corner. I am Cal head coach Melissa Luke, and this week I'm honored to welcome retired U.S. Navy veteran Julius McManus to today's show. Julius is a U.S. Navy veteran and Cal veteran athlete. Welcome to this week's episode of the Coaches Corner. Julius, welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, we're so excited to talk with you today. Let's jump right in. I want to ask you, about your call to service. What drove you to enlist in the U.S. Navy?
Family tradition. My father was a gunner's mate, got out after my brother was born, and then came back in as a machine repairman, and was in service for 11 years. So he got out in 79. My brother was a pattern mold maker. And then, I've had family members that were, signalmen and radiomen in the Army, as well as Merchant Marine Corps.
That's terrific. So you come from a long line.
We do.
Was that always kind of the plan for you? Like even growing up when you were young, did you know like Navy's the way for me and this is what I'm going to do?
It really wasn't. Growing up as a child of the 80s and early 90s, there wasn't a lot of conflict. We had a brief stint in the Gulf when my brother was in. This wasn't something I was really looking for. I had looked at trying to go to college and didn't have the means, the financial resources to do so. And so I'd worked in construction. I actually didn't come in until I was 22. I had some life events that happened. I had a marriage that dissolved and needed a fresh start. So this was a good place to go.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit, Julius, about, those early years in the Navy. What did that look like for you?
It was really interesting that it's, coming in at 22, I was one of the older guys at boot camp. So I took a leadership position and was advanced to E2 out of boot camp. I spent my first 8 years as a submarine machinist mate auxiliaryman. So I did 4.5 years on the USS Michigan when it was an SSBN before it converted to the GNs. And for those that don't know, SSBN is a submarine submersible ballistic nuclear, and the GN conversion was the guided nuclear. So they replaced the D5 missiles with Tomahawks, and a rather significant payload, and also for SEAL delivery.
Okay.
And in 2005, as a machinist mate auxiliaryman first class petty officer stationed in Groton, Connecticut at a repair facility, I was recruited for diving. And so there I was 30 years old, up for chief, and left for dive school.
Wow. So talk to us about that, Julius. Well, number one, what is a Navy diver? What does that entail?
So a Navy diver is a part of the Navy Special Operations community. So they have a very, very diverse skill set. So there's underwater ships husbandry, which is the in-water repair of ships and submarines. So changing out propellers, fin stabilizers, various electronic equipment that can be wetted, or various speed control devices. There's also a salvage component. So we as Navy divers, we support the Joint Pacific Accounting Command in the recovery of MIAs and POWs. So in 2008, I had the opportunity. I went to Palau for 4 months to help recover remains of 11 MIAs.
Oh my gosh!
From World War II that had been shot down. They'd been shot down by friendly fire. One of the planes above them accidentally dropped a bomb and broke the wing. So they were spread across 3 different reefs, and we were the third mission set. We also support NSW, so Naval Special Warfare. We support the SEAL teams, and we support EOD, explosive ordnance disposal. We do just about anything there is to do in the water.
Yeah. That's incredible. What was the training like, Julius, to become a diver?
Making the transition from submariner to diver was a very arduous one for me. It actually took me a year to get into physical condition to be able to qualify and meet the physical standards. Because coming from a submarine, there wasn't a lot of workout equipment, and your primary focus is the task at hand. Right. So it's mechanics and maintenance and keeping the submarine moving. So physical fitness wasn't a big priority there. making the transition to diver where physical fitness is a key component.
Yeah,
It's an arduous task. It's an arduous
right.
job. Um, it took me about a year to be able to get so I could complete 6 dead hang pull-ups without a kip. The 500-meter swim, I think I knocked it out in about 10 minutes. You know, to be our minimums won't get you in the door. You've got to,
Yeah,
the minimum PT test is a 13-minute swim, um, 50 no less than 50 push-ups, no less than 50 sit-ups, 6 dead hang pull-ups, and then a 12:30 run. And it's you've got to be around 10 on the swim and the run,
yeah.
to be around 100 on the sit-ups and push-ups, and at least 6, if not closer to 10 pull-ups.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, I can see what a difference from you going from one where, like you said, like physical fitness, like wasn't really a huge part of it, and going to a diver where, I mean, everything was kind of centered around that physical fitness, it sounds.
It is. It's divers are one of those rates where it was what's one of those things with most commands for anybody that's inside of that NSW umbrella is that your first 2 hours of every day is going to be PT. You're going to lift and you're going to run and you're going to swim and you're going to maintain a lower body fat and a lot of muscle mass.
Did you like that, making that transition over to that?
I loved it. Loved
Yeah,
every minute of it.
that's
Um,
awesome.
I, I
Can go on, go on.
I was gonna say I love my time as a submarine auxiliaryman. There's a a fraternity and a bond that's there inside a submarine that is forever.
Yeah.
But making that transition to being a Navy diver, I wouldn't. There's no regrets. I'd make the same choice again and again.
Yeah. I just want to go back here for 1 second, Julius. You know, you mentioned that mission you went on to recover the remains of those missing in action soldiers. Could you, just touch on what did that mean for you to be a part of something like that? I mean, that just sounds absolutely incredible. I can't even imagine what that
It
must have been
was
like.
it was it was absolutely incredible. Probably the most honorable job I've ever had the privilege to be a part of. And for me personally, there's a little more backstory there. My uncle was an MIA in Vietnam. He was a naval aviator, enlisted side. He ran comms and pictures. They got caught in a typhoon and hit the side of a mountain.
Oh my
The
gosh.
the JPAC mission the year before I went was his mission. So they recovered him
Oh,
during that mission set.
really?
So I was working with the anthropologists that were a part of that mission. So to have the opportunity to be even just one member of a team, to be able to give somebody else that sense of relief and that sense
Oh
of
my
knowing,
gosh. Yeah.
it it's beyond words.
That is just phenomenal. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So, Julius, you would go on and you would deploy multiple times, to Iraq, Afghanistan. Would you touch a bit for us on some of these deployments that you were on?
Absolutely. So when I left, actually, when I left Palau 3 months later, I accepted orders to NSW to support the SEAL teams out of forward deployed in Bahrain. When I got there, because I had some previous life experiences where I had my commercial driver's license, I can drive just about anything.
Yep.
I was asked by one of the SEALs if I would be willing to help them out with some tactical ground mobility assets. So he had some 1152 up armored Humvees that he needed to move from Iraq down to a reset facility in Kuwait, and needed people that knew how to drive and that could handle things from a tactical perspective. And so I've never been one to shy away from a challenge. So I said,
Yeah.
send me, I'll go, which was kind of my mantra always. So in the fall of 2008, I deployed to Kuwait it was myself, the SEAL chief, and a equipment operator, CB. The three of us went in. We got sandstormed in, so we got delayed by about a week. And because of our delays, Vinny thought it would be appropriate to split the team. He's like, "Hey, you're deep sea. You got a higher ASVAB. You're very capable. You've driven things. Would you mind going to Baghdad? And myself and Maria are going to go over to we'll meet you at Al Assad, and we'll pull everything from the west, you pull everything from the east, and we'll meet there, and then scatter. And so we split teams, and that was my first experience going into a war zone. Was going into Baghdad unaccompanied.
Wow. What do you remember from that day?
So when I flew into Baghdad, the vehicles weren't in yet. Everything that was supposed to be there wasn't. I'm not one to sit on my laurels.
Yeah.
So I started driving a bus for the team guys, so helping them transit from our edge of the fob to the runways, and then picking them up with their people of interest, bringing the people of interest back to a interrogation facility. And then it was different being, we had a couple of rocket attacks, lost one of the guys that was with us, not part of my team, but one of the folks from our compound was on a routine search and was hit by an IED. So it was an eye-opening experience in that first 2 weeks of deployment into Baghdad.
Wow, what a way to start it, right?
It's if you're gonna go, you might as well go big.
I mean, yeah, just get right into the thick of it, and you certainly did there. Good grief. How many times, Julius, would you go on to deploy, either Iraq, Kuwait, Afghanistan? What would it end up looking like for you by the end?
So I had taken the orders to Bahrain for a 10-month tour. The Navy ran out of funding for orders, so my 10-month tour turned into a 14-month tour.
Yep.
And I was in Bahrain for all of 4 months.
Okay.
So I would deploy into Iraq probably almost a dozen more times. During one of those deployments, in I think it was November, December timeframe, I was pulled out of Iraq to go to Afghanistan. We were going to pull, SEAL Team 7 was in Al-Assad at that time. And so we were going to pull half of the debt out of Al-Assad and set them up in Kandahar. So I went up to, as part of the advance, went up to Bagram Air Base, and worked with Army ODA 5th Group to procure the necessary equipment and vehicles that they would need for a mission set. Because as soon as the team came up, we already had a mission set and extraction set within 48 hours of them hitting ground in Afghanistan.
Wow.
So I was up there to help stand up Task Unit Trident.
Okay. Julius, would you talk to us a little bit, from your perspective, being in combat in both Iraq and Afghanistan, some of the differences between those two wars in kind of like your day-to-day life?
Iraq had a lot more technology. The IEDs were much more advanced, a lot more urban fighting. We did a convoy from Al-Assad during when 7 was relieving 5. We were going from Al-Assad, stopped by a dignitary's house for dinner, and then we're going on into Ramadi. And as we rolled into Ramadi, we blew a tire on an MRAP, which, if you've ever been in an MRAP, that's a pretty rare occurrence. And it happened within 200 yards of the checkpoint that the Iraqi nationals were running. We were there in process of changing tire. We'd set up a safe. We had 3 MRAPs and 2 Humvees. So we'd set up kind of a triangle to keep the tire on the inside, keep us safe while we're changing it out. And we ended up we had an insurgent pull up 200 yards away as a spotter. The soft variants have a remote weapon system instead of a gunner sitting up at top. So they used a red light, trained it along the hood of the vehicle, and just kind of scared him off, got him out. Within 30 seconds of him leaving, all the lights went out. Power was cut to the whole grid. Go on nods, and the guard towers are empty. So it was. We were very fortunate. As we're getting set up for an ambush, we'd set up a good posture. We worked very diligently. We had a phenomenal team of mechanics and SEALs, and just all the support folks that were there with us to be able to remove ourselves from that situation before it got worse.
Yeah. Wow.
Whereas in Afghanistan, it was a lot more, pressure plate based IEDs, more rural mountain type warfare. So it was very different environments,
Right.
same people.
Yeah. Yep. No, that makes sense like that. So Julius, you had something of, I don't even know the words to use. I'm going to say kind of a unique injury that you suffer. Would you tell us about your patella tendon injury?
Absolutely. So I think I used up most of my luck when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan. Uh, so 10 months after I came back from Iraq, I was, or from working with NSW, I was stationed at the experimental dive unit in Panama City Beach. And one of the nice things about being a diver, again, physical fitness is a big part of our
Right.
training, water adaptability, water comfort in the water. So one of the nice things is we can go surfing for PT. It's a heartbreaking,
Awesome.
it's a heartbreaking
Jeez,
opportunity.
this sounds just awful, Julius. Good grief.
It's horrible. I'd gone out to the city pier for 6 o'clock in the morning surfing session. Sorry. So, I'd gone out for a 06 sunrise surf session. Been out for about an hour. It was time to come in, get everything cleaned up so I could be to work by 8. And as I come in, I get for about 3 feet from shore, step off the nose of a longboard, and step on a stingray. And the stingray went through my knee and left part of the barb in the patellar tendon. I had called in another guy from the water. He helped me get into my Jeep, called my wife before I left the beach, said, hey, I'm going to need you to take me to work. I need to go see Doc. I didn't even realize I'd been stung at that
Right.
point. I thought I had actually jammed the skeg of a surfboard up underneath the kneecap. So I was just going to have Doc, take a look at it, clean it up, and move over smartly.
Right.
And so it was my left knee. So I kind of grabbed that side with my hand so I could manipulate the clutch of the vehicle. Nah, never claimed to be a smart man. So my wife, pull up, switch vehicles, get in with my wife, and she takes me to the unit where we've got diving medical officers and phenomenal corpsmen, just some of the best people that the Navy has to offer from the medical side.
Right.
And Doc looks at me and says, "You're an idiot. Go to the emergency room now." Wow. By the time we got to the emergency room, because I had released that grip I had on my leg.
Yep.
The neurotoxins from the barb had actually started seizing the muscles, going into spasms. And by the time we pulled up in the emergency room, I was going into convulsions.
Oh my gosh.
So they came out with a stretcher, got me in, and one of the nurses had the bright idea to just see. She took a hot cloth and put it on the knee, and it instantly the pain went away.
Really?
The neurotoxins didn't, but the pain did. So
Okay.
if you ever get stung by a stingray, 110-degree water will help to release that pain. So it helps to block that issue.
Oh my gosh.
But on the initial X-rays, they didn't see anything significant. So I was released. 4 months later, I was doing CrossFit and running a 5K and having a heck of a time with that knee. And I was went over to a temporary assigned duty trip to Jacksonville, and was for the Drug and Alcohol Prevention School, so DAPA. So I was getting ready to take over as the DAPA for the command.
Okay.
And had gone out, went surfing for PT early in the morning before class, and felt a pop when I went to go do a cutback. And couldn't stand up on it, so I paddled in, showered off, went to class, finished out the class period, went back out the next morning to try to surf. No joy, that same issue. I couldn't support anything on that leg. So when I got back, I went to my docs. We did an MRI, and I had a 70% tear of the patellar tendon from the inside out. So it was still attached on both sides, but it was a hole in the middle.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So we went in and did a repair, and that's when they found the barb. So I had a phenomenal civilian surgeon, orthopedic surgeon that did the initial repair. And as a result of that barb being in there, it had necrotized tissue and just created all this pus and ooze and just junk. So within 30 days of the first surgery, I went from a 0 degree brace to a 15 degree, and just that turn of 15 degrees, the stitches and the skin just sloughed out like it was buttered.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's wow.
So we did that. They ended up doing that twice. So we did a repair in November, a debridement in December. Same thing happened after the debridement. So in January we did another debridement, put in a drain tube, and then we followed it up with 20 hyperbaric oxygen treatments for non-healing wounds. And what that is you can take a person, anybody that's had like smoke inhalation, gangrene, major not a wound that won't heal.
Right.
You can put them in a hyperbaric facility on 100% oxygen, compressed down to simulated depth of 45 feet. So it's the same as if you were in the water for 45 feet of seawater, but you're dry. And what that does is that the partial pressures of the gas hyperoxygenate the tissue and promote healing. So we did 20 of those.
Wow. How much time, so by the time you started doing that treatment, Julius, how much time had elapsed from when the initial sting actually occurred?
That was 6 months later.
Okay. Wow. That was quite a journey you went on as a result of that morning surf. Oh my gosh.
It was.
Wow.
I felt very fortunate. Things recovered well. And then in 2014, I'd left the experimental dive unit in 13 and was down and took orders to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. And I was running their Thanksgiving half marathon because I was training for an Ironman, because the goal was to come back from Cuba and do an Ironman. And what a great place to train with the hills and everything that they have down there.
Right.
So, I was doing their Thanksgiving Day half and had pain at like mile 12. And again, just too dumb to quit, pushed through it. And we ended up doing another repair of that tendon in 2015. As it turns out, we would do another one in 2016, and then the final one, Andrews Institute, one of the premier surgeons in the United States, did the last repair in 2017 and deemed it non-repairable.
Okay.
And that ultimately resulted in my retirement.
Yeah. So Julius, let's talk a bit, about that transition. You had a 20+ year career with the U.S. Navy. What was that like for you then, transitioning back into that civilian life?
I had a very hard time initially. 2017, 18 was a very rough time for me.
Yeah.
I'd lost my father. He had died of cancer. I was losing my job.
Right.
I was a Navy diver chief. I had a promise. What leading up to that point would have been a promising career. Had taken the master diver test, passed it once, missed it once because it's an annual test for us to be able to continue progression. Went through the senior enlisted academy. So I had a promising career in front of me. Wasn't ready to get out yet. So I was losing, like I said, lost my dad, was losing my job, and in all reality, kind of losing my identity, because after 22 years, I was Navy diver chief. That's so it was an interesting transition to reclaim my name and rediscover who I am. And I had some rough points in there. During the worst of it, I was looking at how I could terminate things without having a negative impact on my family. And fortunately, in December of 18, I was introduced to a program, Navy Wounded Warrior Safe Harbor, which is now just Navy Wounded Warrior. And they reached out in January and asked me to come up to an adaptive sports camp. They were hosting over in Jacksonville. And after a little reluctance from my command and some persistence through Navy Wounded Warrior, I was able to go. And I was introduced to some absolutely just life-altering things. So, for starters, I found a community that was also wounded, injured, and trying to figure out who they were.
Right.
And it was a place where you weren't judged based on your injuries. You were just you.
Yeah.
And knowing that you're not alone in that is huge.
Right.
And then, I was an aspiring triathlete. I'd done a lot of Olympic level tries and smaller ones. I was working my way up for an Ironman. To go from racing mountain bikes and avid street cyclist, runner, swimmer, to losing function in your left leg, it was a challenge. And
Right.
Navy Wounded Warrior introduced me to a hand cycle. They introduced me to the push rim racing chair, which is behind me here, and really showed me a whole another world of opportunities that made me feel whole, made me feel like
Right.
I could compete again, and I could keep a level of fitness and move forward.
That's so terrific. That's so terrific. So is that how was that the track then to get you on course for the Warrior Games, Julius?
That was. Although I thought it was an introductory camp, it just kind of, hey, come check us out. See what we do.
Yeah,
It
that's
turned
how
out
they
to
get
be-
you in.
It is. The first one's always free.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, just come see if you like it, try it. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
Turns out it was their team trials.
Oh my gosh.
And it's funny. One of the coaches, their track coach, Coach Kyle, put me in the track chair, and it is the one he put me in was probably the most uncomfortable torture device I had been in. And keep in mind, I've been inside torpedo tubes coming in from the outside coming in. I,
Yeah.
sitting in the jump seat in the back seat of MRAP cruising down through Iraq. There's some very, very uncomfortable places to be. That chair is probably the most uncomfortable thing I'd ever sat in. And I made, I think, 2 laps around the track and went up to him like, hey, I appreciate everything you're doing here. This isn't for me. And kind of walked away from it and went and tried other things. And lo and behold, I get an email about a month and a half later saying, hey, congratulations, we've picked you up for track.
Very cool. And so
I'd been picked up for track, cycling, precision shooting, and swimming.
that's so cool.
The Navy team.
Talk to us about the healing that came kind of specifically through that opportunity to compete again and compete alongside like your brothers and sisters.
Oh, it's absolutely the most amazing thing. We're the DoD Warrior Games and Invictus, which is the international scale of it, really take our brothers and sisters who have had sustained injuries, whether they be combat related, PT related, or even a vehicle accident. An injured soldier, sailor, or guardsman is an injured soldier, sailor, guardsman. Regardless of how you sustained your injuries,
Right.
you're still family. You still have to recover. It doesn't matter where you sustained those injuries at. So to be amongst that phenomenal group of people
Yeah.
and compete in Paralympic style games, yes, you're competing for the medal, but you're also competing for the fraternity. And like I had the absolute wonderful opportunity to be at the 2018 DoD Warrior Games, and we had Army Captain James Howard, with us. And actually, he ended up making the ESPN top 10. Captain Howard is a quadriplegic. He was competing in the swim, and for his group, everybody that finished their swim came back and swam in with him.
Oh wow.
And that's the feeling. That's that joy
Yeah.
and the sense of camaraderie and brotherhood that we have in those competitions. It's not just coming in first. It's making sure
Right.
that you come in as well.
Yep. That's absolutely terrific. I've heard so many just terrific, wonderful stories from people about the DoD Warrior Games and Invictus and competing. So it's terrific to hear you talk about it in that same light. What do you kind of looking back now, just at those past Warrior Games? What do you remember most, or what do you look back to most fondly about it?
In all honesty, it was the opportunity for my family to see what can happen in recovery.
That's wonderful. Oh my gosh.
I have
Yeah.
3 boys. At that time, all 3 boys were still in school.
Yeah.
So to give them that experience and to show them that it doesn't matter how hard life knocks you down, there's a way forward.
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked for a better life lesson for my kids. And that's one of those, for me, my family is very important. That was one of the big takeaways.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on that because, as we know, the families go through so much too during this recovery transition process, of the injured, soldier or, um, so it's incredible. It's incredible that they got to see you then in that light, in the recovery, moving forward, competing like that. That's absolutely awesome. So fitness is obviously, still a very big part of your life, Julius. All we need to do is look behind you. And you mentioned a lot of different, various forms of physical fitness you do. What is your favorite way to stay active? What's your go-to?
My go-to is actually running.
Is
Uh,
it?
it is. That's been as much as I detested that first track chair I ever sat in.
Yeah.
Um, I now have my own. It's fit for me.
I was going to say, I'm imagining it's not quite as uncomfortable as the other one you sat in.
Not nearly. I actually so last year I competed in my first marathon, although it was virtual.
Yep.
I did my first ever actual marathon distance run.
So
And in the
cool.
track chair, I was able to. I came in just underneath 3 hours. So it's my go-to has been running, and then with the help of Cal, with Catch a Lift's help, I have a secondary go-to. So on days where I can't get into the chair very well, or weather's inclement, I now have a ski erg, which is a similar motion. I can and the the favorite thing to me about the ski erg is that on my good days when I can stand up and I have function of my legs, I can stand and I can help build those stabilizer muscles, help build that core, strengthen things to kind of help prevent and prolong my functionality. And on bad days, my wheelchair rolls up to it and I can still keep working out.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful piece like that. Like you said, having that ability to roll right into that or put a seat in it, a chair, and be able to go and get that same incredible workout. It's a wonderful piece. Um, I want to go back a second here. You mentioned that virtual marathon you did in
Yeah,
October of 2020, and that's just fascinating. Will you talk to us a little bit about competing virtually like that during the time of COVID?
absolutely. So I'll back it up just a little bit. Um, through a generous grant from Independence Fund, I received my chair. Um, Adaptive equipment is not cheap
Yeah,
by any means. So it's
right.
very grateful to organizations like Catch a Lift and Independence Fund and some of the other phenomenal groups that
Yeah,
are out there that provide these grants to injured soldiers and sailors or even civilians that need them. Uh,
right.
but in March of right before COVID hit, I ran my first 5K in 6 years in the chair. That had been my longest run in since my injury in 14, since that half marathon. So it was great, amazing feeling. And then right after, as I'm laying out this plan, and I linked up with Team Semper Fi and the Runners Battalion for the Marine Corps Marathon. They have a training program, so it's like great. This is a coaching opportunity. I can work with coaches, get back up to
Yeah.
speed. We laid out the series of runs for the year, and because I'm in Northwest Florida, we have a ton of runs. There's 5Ks and 10Ks and half marathons almost every weekend
I'm
here.
sure. Yeah.
There were. We're working our way back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we laid everything out, and then COVID hit, and everything just went into like, oh my gosh. And I give great credit to the folks at Team Semper Fi and the Runners Battalion because they took it in stride and transitioned everything to virtual. So we did virtual 5Ks, virtual 10Ks, virtual halves. We did the Army 10 miler as a virtual, and all build up to this marathon. And so we've got this phenomenal virtual team of about 100. I think we ended up with like about 75 people at the end. We started with 100 and so odd folks that we're meeting virtually once a month. We've got training plans coming out through Training Peaks every week. That similar level of accountability, like what we have with Catch a Lift,
Right.
have coaches and resources, and it's such an opportunity to work with such great organizations and people to keep us motivated and keep us accountable.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I worked it out with my wife every Saturday morning. I would get up. She would watch. I have a service dog, Phoenix. He's my mobility assistant service dog. He's been with me for 4 years, and so she would watch him, and I would go for anywhere from a 5 mile to 20 mile run on a Saturday morning using the push room in training, and it was just having that goal of the Marine Corps Marathon and having a support network. It was absolutely incredible. Running is a solitary sport as it is, but it's absolutely a team effort.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And just like you said, like that community, like from your home, your family, like, your wife taking, Phoenix during that and the different stuff. I mean, what you're doing, it might be like seem individual like yourself, but so many other people, go into that and kind of making it happen.
We, we've made some social media posts throughout the year to kind of help keep folks motivated. And it turned out I had one particular bad day. I was on an 18-mile run, and I was coming back. And last February, I started developing some nerve issues after a spinal surgery, where I lose function of my legs, and they go into, for lack of a better expression, either a spasm or almost like a convulsion. I was on my way back about 5 miles from the house, and I could feel it coming on. The inside muscles of my legs are starting to twitch. So rather than go into convulsions in the chair and fall down and give myself another TBI, I opted to stop, get out, lay on the grass, let it pass, and I would finish my run. And the sheriff's department for our area pulled up and were very concerned. And it turns out this sheriff's deputy had been, she works most Saturdays, and she'd seen me out there often. And she'd stopped once or twice for high fives, and it was really very motivating for her. And she's there. She's like, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm good. I think I might just call my wife, have her come pick me up, kind of walk through what's going on." And she tells me, she's like, "Hey, I see you out here every week. You are such an inspiration. We talk about you back at the sheriff's office." And as I'm having this conversation with her, the head of the lifeguard service pulls up from the fire department. And he's like, "Hey, dude, are you okay?" He's like, "We always see you. They'll honk the horn if they see me on the road." So it's, just, although it's a solitary event, the fact that people see us out there doing these things, it's an inspiration, it's a motivation to them.
Yep.
If we can do it with our injuries,
right,
that's motivation for them without theirs. And when they're having a bad day, they can look at us and say, "Hey, they're doing it, I can push through." And that's, I love having that feeling and knowing that we're having that kind of an impact.
It's tremendous, right? That's absolutely tremendous. So Julius, how do you handle setbacks, in your running or your fitness in general, when stuff kind of comes up in life? How do you move forward kind of through those sticking points?
I have a mantra. Today is better than yesterday, not nearly as good as tomorrow.
I like that.
So
I like that.
Not every day is going to be a good day. Not every day is going to be a bad day.
Yep.
If we focus on the positive things, I'm very, very blessed to have a phenomenal family. Like I said, a wife, 3 boys that have been absolutely supportive in 22 years of career. I've been married to my wife for 24 years. So it's, I've got that home support. I also have a support network that from the Warrior Games. So we still communicate with some of the folks from the UK, some of the folks from Australia, a lot of my brothers and sisters from the Navy team. We keep in touch through social media, and there's the random phone calls and things. And I've stayed active with organizations like Catch a Lift and with Team Separate 5. So when I have those bad days, I know that there's a way to get beyond it.
Right.
Today might be a setback. I might take 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but I'm still moving forward.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, you explained it out there perfectly. And, that's community is one of Cal's 4 core pillars. I mean, it's absolutely vital to us, right? We can't do it alone. It's, we might be able to buffalo ourselves and say, this is a solo endeavor we're doing. It's not. It takes a village. It takes a community.
It does. Absolutely.
Yeah. How did you first learn about Catch a Lift, Julius?
I I actually learned about Catch a Lift. One of my teammates from, I think it was the Navy side. I can't remember if it was one of my Army friends or one of the Navy teammates, turned me on to it. We completed the 18 games. I had my sights on making the 19 games and qualifying for Invictus, and needed some assistance with trying to get either gym or pool membership. And somebody had turned me on to Catch a Lift through word of mouth, and so I applied and was granted acceptance of the program, and then granted acceptance for a grant when COVID happened. So the grant, everything kind of got put on the back burner. And I think it was you that realized that, hey, we've had this guy here for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah,
he's been on the witness for a long time.
It was, and I always remembered you, Julius. I had the honor of interviewing you when you came into the Catch a Lift program, and not to like poke this up, but the Stingray thing, like it's stuck with me, and I always remembered you, and I'm like, all right, we gotta get Julius set up here. So it was so absolutely terrific for me to be able to see you now 2 years later and get to connect with you and talk again. It's just been absolutely wonderful. I have one last question here I want to ask you today, Julius.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to be a Catch a Lift Fun veteran athlete?
It's hard to express in words how much this community and the support of coaches and the nutrition guidelines and the resources that Catch a Lift brings. And just that, when I have a question, I can reach out to you or my coach or any of the Catch a Lift members through the social media sites or through the brain farts. Sorry. through the page, through the Catch a Lift page, through the dashboard. When we spoke about what gets me through those rough moments, it's knowing I have that support.
Yeah.
And being a member of Catch a Lift and being a part of this team and having the opportunity, one, to be able to sit here and tell my story and to share and hopefully inspire some of our other brothers and sisters that need that moment. It's an absolute honor and a privilege to be a part of this community and to be a part of this organization.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Julius, and thank you so much for your service to our great country. Absolutely phenomenal.
Well, thank you for your service as well. I'm not the only veteran here.
Thank you, Julius. Absolutely.
We can't thank, for those of us that have been recipients, I'm sure you've heard it often, but we can't thank you enough for taking the time and the work, because there's a lot of stuff that we don't see behind the scenes that you do to help facilitate us on this side. So thank you very much for everything that you do and for getting the support and the sponsors and all the resources that you put up on the dashboard and their coaches. So thank you very much for all that you do with Catch a Lift.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julius. It's truly my honor to be a part of this team and, to have the opportunity to give back in this way. Thank you again, though, seriously, for your service. We appreciate you so much, and we're so blessed to have you a part of our team, Julius. That is it for this week's episode of Coach's Corner. We will return next Wednesday at 1 Eastern Time with another new episode. Thank you, Julius, for sharing your story and your light with us all today. Thank you to ClearBridge for your continued support of all things Catch a Lift. Big thank you to Lynn Coughlin, Henry Pomper, and Kaylee Nasiri for all the work you do to make this podcast possible. And thank you to everyone on the Catch a Lift team. And until next week, keep it real and stay Cal strong.